Breaking now, no charges against Ferguson, Missouri police officer Darren Wilson in the shooting death of Michael Brown.
Right now, protesters are getting out of control. You can see fire there. This is in Ferguson, and a police car has been burning in the street. Live pictures we're monitoring tonight continue to show massive crowds, people upset with the grand jury's decision. We've also seen police fire tear gas at protesters. Good evening, I'm Marley Ginter.
And I'm Brian Sterling. We do have team coverage tonight, including reaction. Let's go to Jay Gray live.
Protesters have poured into the streets here in Ferguson. You can hear the gunfire right now. You can see the protesters in the streets here. If you move down the street, one building that was set afire earlier, you can see finally firefighters have made their way through. If you come back across the street, you can see a meat market here. It's been broken into. We've seen people pulling things out of the market. Now it's on fire as well. We were on the other side of this fence about 10 minutes ago. Multiple gunshots forced us back inside, and the crowd here, it's still building right now.
Good evening. After 3 months of anticipation and anxiety here, a decision this evening from the grand jury.
They determined that no probable cause exists to file any charge against Officer Wilson and returned a no true bill on each of the 5 indictments.
Police officer Darren Wilson will not face charges in the shooting death of unarmed teenager Michael Brown.
They met on 25 separate days in the last 3 months, heard more than 70 hours of testimony from about 60 witnesses.
The 7 men and 5 women of the grand jury met again this morning. 9 white, 3 black, mirroring St. Louis County's demographics.
They are the only people who have heard and examined every witness and every piece of evidence.
President Obama spoke from the White House after the announcement.
To those in Ferguson, there are ways of channeling your concerns constructively, and there are ways of channeling your concerns destructively. Michael Brown's parents understand what it means to be constructive. The vast majority of peaceful protesters, they understand it as well.
It's not going to be business as usual.
As many as 500 protesters gathered to await the decision early. A community bracing for what has already been an emotional response here.
Smoke filling the air here from at least 2 businesses on fire right now. You can see the crowds of protesters here again after a no true bill, no indictment for Officer Darren Wilson in the shooting death of unarmed teenager Michael Brown. This is something that's been building throughout the night since that decision was announced. They continue to pour in here, protesters, some that are not from this area, obviously, but very frustrated with the situation here. We've had multiple gunshots. We're beginning to see more police officers in this area. We know that we've already had officers in riot gear at this point. There has already been tear gas used in some areas as this continues to develop. That's the latest right now here in Ferguson. I'm Jay Gray. Back to you now.
The upset clear and evident in Ferguson, Missouri. Our team coverage continues at the live desk tonight. 24 Hour News 8's Heather Walker just spoke with a local race relations expert. Heather?
Yes, Marley, Brian. Nadia Brigham actually joined us here tonight. She's with Racial Equity Program at the WK Kellogg Foundation, and she was actually here in our newsroom watching the decision coming down live with us. Afterwards, I asked what her reaction was, and she didn't give the typical response. She didn't say she was happy, upset, shocked. Instead, she says that it doesn't matter. Here's why.
Regardless of the decision from tonight, it doesn't take away. Young Mr. Brown is still gone. Officer Wilson still has taken a life. The community is still suffering there. And you still have those same kinds of feelings there. Even if he had been indicted, gone to jail, you still have those feelings of racism that got us here. And so until we deal with those, and unless we deal with those, every community has the potential to be a Ferguson.
And that's what the WK Kellogg Foundation works to mitigate. It was very interesting talking to her tonight after this all came down. Her main point was that the main message here is that we all matter. That's the big message, and that's the same message that the protesters have on the ground in Ferguson tonight. At the live desk, Heather Walker, 24-Hour News 8.
Okay, Heather, thank you. We will continue to stay on top of this situation in Ferguson. We'll have a complete recap of what happens overnight on Daybreak tomorrow morning from 4:30 until 7.